Hey, welcome back to JG3 Reviews, where I explore the world of fountain pens, ink, and paper. And today, we are going to the other side of the world, to Taiwan, where the Mr. Cypress CE043 was made. This pen is one that I had had on my wait list for a long time. I just hadn't quite bit the bullet, but when I finally did a few months ago, I was very happy. And I am happy today to share with you what it is that I like so much about this pen. Now, you may notice I'm not in my normal place, and that's because the cellulose acetate from which this pen is made is meant to remind you of being in the mountains in a lush forest. And when you live in Central Texas, coming to Southeast Oklahoma to the Ouachita Mountains at Broken Bow, that's as lush a mountain as you're going to find nearby. It's the quickest way to get to one. So, all this just for you. I'm kidding. This is a family vacation, but I was happy to bring the pen along and film this for you while I chill out here in the rather warm Oklahoma Ouachita Mountains. So this pen is absolutely gorgeous. I mentioned it's made of cellulose acetate, and that is the 1930s, 1940s safe version of cellulose. You might be familiar, if you're familiar with vintage pens, with the cellulose that can be a fire hazard. And actually, there's some antique pens out there that you do not want to have close to a flame, so don't write next to a candle. This is not one of those. It has a very similar appearance. It has the depth of cellulose nitrate, which is the burning one, but it has the safety factor of cellulose acetate. And you will find this on premium pens mostly nowadays, like the Mr. Cypress or, for example, a Pelikan Sovereign. And it is a wonderful material. It has wonderful depth. It has warm colors. It's warm to the feel. And it makes for a very well-polished, hand-turned fountain pen. But to really appreciate this material, you need to get it in full sun where you can really see those nice dark green segments along with the very natural shaded lighter green colors. And it's just a gorgeous, turned in a fairly traditional cigar shape with a very unique clip, which we'll get a better look at when we head inside. But I wanted to get this pen out here where you can see it in a place that is very much what inspired the look, color, and material of this Mr. Cypress pen. All right, back inside, you can see that it shows up a lot darker under just the natural lighting in the kitchen. And you can see, again, that it is a very classically shaped pen with, I think, a really cool spoon-like clip that is nice and springy. It's stiff, but not too stiff, really strong in a nice gold tone, and I think that looks good. There are not a lot of extra details on the outside of the pen, but here in just a second, I will show you a couple of close-up details that I like. But as I said, just a nice looking pen on the outside, very classic, has a nice weight to it. It's not as light as some acrylic pens, for example, a little bit more heft to it than that. I don't actually have my scale here with me, of course, so I can't put a number to it, but anecdotally, it's heavier than an acrylic. It is a fairly good size, standard, but just a little bit larger than standard size pen. I will do a comparison to some familiar pens here in just a second. The cap comes off in about 1.5 turns, but there's something else that I want to show you about the cap. You cannot post the pen, and you might not want to. You don't want to mar that material, but do you see how that is springing back? That's not me. That is the pen. So there is a liner inside the cap, and it is spring-loaded, kind of like a slip and seal from Platinum, but with a much stronger spring. So you can't post the pen because it will just shoot itself across the desk. So for some of you, that will be a deal breaker. It is not for me. I really enjoy this pen so much, it doesn't bother me in the least. But if posting is a deal, this particular model might not be the Mr. Cypress pen for you. But if you can get over that, it does mean that it is not a dry-out prone pen, and that, of course, I like very much. When you open up the barrel, it is a cartridge converter pen, takes international standard, Western International Standard cartridges and converters, and has a Schmidt nib included with the pen. Threading and all those details looks really good. The grip section, which you can see the silhouette of here, quite well is a nice diameter, not too small. So it's kind of a medium to a little bit larger than medium, very much like that. And it is a number 6 nib. In this case, it is a Bock nib, which means you also have lots of options if you want to change it later. But if, like me, you like a good medium nib, you're not going to want to swap this out. It comes with a very good nib. And one of the things I like about it is the Cypress branded detailing and engraving. It is a two-tone nib, and I think that looks really slick, and I like the extra detail. I like that they've put their own branding on it. It looks very, very cool to me. Of course, it is a plastic feed. Again, it is a Bock nib unit, and I've had very good experience with this one straight out of the box. All right, here is our size comparison today, and I mentioned that it is a large pen. And now if you're familiar with these, you know that I wasn't kidding. This is a Wingsung 601A, similar to a Parker 51, a Pilot Vanishing Point, and the Diplomat Arrow, which if you're familiar with this, is not a small pen, and this pen is a good bit longer than that and has just as good a diameter as that pen, maybe slightly thinner, but not by much. And then in writing form, you can see it actually is kind of average once you get rid of the cap. So since the pen doesn't post, I'm only going to do this unposted, but then it becomes fairly average in length, but a very comfortable pen, very well balanced. I would say in this form, perfectly balanced, and just an enjoyable pen to write with for a good long time. Mr. Cypress. The CE, this is hard for me to remember. I hope I get this right. 043. This is a medium nib. It is steel. You can get gold nibs from them. Check that for wetness. Not too bad, not too bad. And the ink today is actually a Hongdian ink. I have a few that I really like, and this is one of them. And this is their blackish green. As you can see, lives up to its name, right? They weren't kidding around with that. We'll skip a few. Woo! Shouldn't have skipped to the M. That was terrible. But we can't blame that on the pen. The pen is absolutely fantastic. I find it ergonomically. I mean, it's a classic design. That's all been thought of out long, long ago, but I really like it. Fits in the hand well, and that material also contributes to it being a very pleasant pen to write with because that cellulose acetate has a very nice warm feeling to it when you write with it. Now, you don't really get much flex or springiness. You can get just a little bit there of line variation. It's going to be pretty standard, right, left, top, down. I think it's a well-ground nib. And one thing I like about their pens, you can easily get replacement nib units from them. We'll do the speed test and see how this keeps up in quick writing. All right, that's real time. Okay, I lifted right here, but that did great. I think that may be one of the best speed tests I've had here lately. So overall, writing wise, I have no nitpicks with this pen. It has been fantastic. I haven't had any issues with dry out or anything like that. It's just been a fun pen. And what I like about it, I've mentioned the similarity between this material and the older cellulose that was the fire hazard. Well, one of the similarities is that depth of color, and this particular color, this particular material, I think has a very vintage look and feel, and I very much like that. One of the other things I like about it, very expertly turned and polished. The quality here is excellent. Now, if you don't want a cellulose pen from Cypress. Before they did these pens, they did wood pens. They got their start, I believe, doing high-quality hardwoods and hand-turned pens that way. They also do lacquer pens and micarta pens, and they do Raiden pens that are absolutely beautiful. And some of those pens are quite high-end. I will tell you, their quality is excellent. And if that's something that you're looking for, you definitely want to go and check out their website. It is quite an extensive catalog of pens that they sell. There really is something for just about everybody. And price-wise, so this pen was $135. Now, here in the U.S., you'll pay shipping and tariff and things like that. I think the tariff was $17 when I got mine, so not anything just terribly prohibitive. But, keep that in mind. And, of course, by the time you see this and by the time I've recorded this, it could have changed again. So maybe to your advantage or maybe, but well worth it. Excellent, excellent pen, excellent craftsmanship. And one of the ways I want to illustrate this is the base of the cap. And I don't even know that my camera can really pick it up all that well. But do you see how that is turned? And it has a slight concave turning to the end of the cap. And it has done all the way around so perfectly well. A detail that probably a person could own this pen for a few years and not even notice. And that's when you know somebody really cares about what they're doing. And I get the impression that Mr. Cypress really cares about what they're doing. And this is an excellent, excellent pen. Highly recommend. I hope you've enjoyed this review. If you have more questions, please share those in the comments and I will get to those as soon as I can. It may be a week before I can sit down because of a conference that I'm at, but share your questions. I will get back to them as soon as I can. And with that, I hope that you have a wonderful week and God bless you.